Hello, welcome. Welcome to our spotlight session for this Monday. We are talking about how to anchor between commitments. So, when you think about that, we're going to talk about those pauses that really make a difference in our life and in our day, and maybe even in the moments. And we're talking today about the sacred pause. So, anchoring between commitments. And this is when we make an intentional effort to pause or anchor ourselves in between commitments. So I want you to think about a moment that could have gone completely sideways, crazy, wild. Did you have any moments this week or this past week? I know here we are on Monday, so we've already started a new week. But can you think of any moment in this past week where you were in a situation that could have been really crazy, wacky, chaotic? Um, Maybe it was a time when you were frustrated or you were feeling rushed and you were a little cranky. That's kind of what happens to me sometimes if I'm running behind. And 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 you were ready to react without thinking. I think it happens quite often for many of us. And I want you to imagine that instead of snapping or going wild or, just blurting it out, that you just stopped and you took one slow breath, one pause before you responded. So I want you to think about that. And if something comes to mind, you're welcome to jot it write it down in the comments. What would shift in the moment? What would look different? How might the energy change for you and maybe the people around you if you paused before reacted in any situation, in every situation? Of course, we are human and you never know. There are situations where I guess we just kind of get in that human side of us and we just react without really taking time to figure out how we're going to respond. And so, but I want us to think today about the power of those opportunities where you do take time to pause, where you kind of zip your lip. Here, let's go this zip your lip for just a little bit and you don't react. You wait, you listen a little bit more so that when you respond, you're not responding out of reactivity and you're opening up a space in your heart and in your head, those thoughts, where you respond with intention instead of stress. About it. We're going to be thinking about these micro pauses. So if you're watching right now, I'd love for you to type in the comments micro, so that I know that you are with us and you're joining us for today's session. And when we think about these micro pauses, these opportunities where we just step back for just a minute, take a breath, recalibrate like a GPS, because these times are not wasted. The times where we really commit ourselves to being intentional in how we respond. These special pauses are medicine for our nervous system. They're an antidote for all the stress and the chaos and the wildness and the frustration and the disillusionment. So when you pause, when you take a breath, when you just slow down for a minute before you act out and whatever it is that's kind of triggering you, it is signaling you that you are in safety. It signals your brain. It resets that stress response. And they say, you fight or flight or freeze or fawn. So instead of being hijacked by your adrenaline, your emotions, cortisol, they say when you're under stress like that, your pause tells your system, tells your brain that you're okay, that I am going to choose how I move forward, not just going to blurt it out and be sorry afterwards. So today we're going to practice one simple reset. And this one, if you want to put a name on it, it's called the hand to heart pause. So think about that. The hand to heart pause. How I move. All right. And it takes less than a minute for us to do this. And it works anywhere, everywhere, under all circumstances. So before you answer an email, before you answer a text that has come through that gets your dander up or the hair on your neck going up or your blood pressure going up, before you step into any, crazy meetings, before you go to the store and it's going to be crazy and wild, before you walk out the front door, before you walk back in after a long day, this is something that you can do to help you just reset in the moment. And I know there's lots of different ways to do it, but how often do we really take the time to do it? So let's try right now together. And I want you to place one hand over your heart. Both hands if you want to. And just inhale deeply through your nose. And then hold it for a count of 2. And then exhale out through your mouth as if you're releasing the weight of the moment, whatever that moment was that you thought about earlier, where it could have gone sideways. And just remind yourself that I'm here, I'm steady, I can deal with this, and I can respond with intention. And you're also, optional for you is to utilize some essential oil too. One of my favorites, Siberian fir. And you just put a drop in your palms and just cup it over your nose and breathe in. And just notice how grounding and stabilizing it can feel. And when I'm out and about, I have a roller bottle in my purse, and it's balance blend. It's really nice. And I can do the same thing. And if you've ever tried using essential oils, just on a side note, um, have you felt that shift? Felt calmer, maybe clearer, softer in your body, your jaws? That is your nervous system just resetting itself. It's not magic. It's actually scientific, you know? So I want you to make this practice something that you are going to commit to on a regular basis if you haven't already. And then I want you to think about three specific pause points that you can build into your day, calling these anchor moments that you can build into your day, and some ideas for to help you think about when you might want to get that essential oil out or do a breathing exercise just to reset is before you either pick up your phone or you open up your laptop in the morning. Very first thing. And I know when I was working full time, I wasn't too good at that. So later on, I'd say probably the last few years before I retired, I was more intentional with that, and it made a big difference. Before you're going to get on a difficult call with someone, or maybe you're texting back and forth with someone and it's a little heated, that would be a great time for you to pause, breathe, get out that essential oil. Um, Maybe after lunch, and instead of, just kind of zoning out with your phone, scrolling and stuff, maybe do a little breathing exercise and give yourself time to just absorb what's going on around you in your own environment. Because we spend a lot of money and effort to keep our environment looking the way we like it and enjoy it for a change. If you're sitting in your car and before you head into maybe a difficult appointment with a doctor or something, do some of that breathing. And you know what? Even when you're brushing your teeth before you go to bed at night, just pause, look in that mirror, and just breathe in and release. And now I want you to think about, if you've listed some ideas in your head, I want you to mentally check off some of those times, whatever came to your mind. You can comment in the comments. When is a time that came to your mind that said, that would be the perfect time for me to just chill, to intentionally calm myself down? Even if it's not wild and crazy, it still feels good. It's still good for you. And so that you can get that immediate relaxation, calm sensation going on. And this is an opportunity for you to just anchor yourself between commitments. So that's what this talk was all about, just to kind of open your mind uh, again and remind you of the importance of anchoring and calming and being more intentional. So now let's do a little bit of a check-in for a moment. And I want you to notice, if you've been following along with me, if you practice the heart to hand pause with me, did you feel a tiny shift at all? Like maybe you felt more calm, more grounded, and maybe you just felt less tension in your shoulders or a little bit more optimistic. If yes, I am so glad to hear that. And give me a thumbs up if you did do that practice with us. And that's the pause doing its work. And I want you to hold on to that as evidence that you can reset yourself anytime, anywhere, with just something really simple as a short breath, heart to hand pause. But maybe you have been so busy and you're listening to this and you're half tuned in and you're half focused on what's going on up here, or what your next appointment might be, or your next event, or getting ready to make dinner if it's dinner time. So sometimes it takes more than one practice because, yeah, we can do it. We can calm, we can take a breath, and then immediately we find ourselves back into the tension because we have to move on quickly. And we feel like we do anyway. So, in those moments where you feel like you just don't have time, or the pause doesn't really cut it for you because your tension is really deep seated, then I just want you to extend that exhale a little bit longer and make it a little longer than when you inhale. So take it in, hold it for a couple of seconds, and then exhale much slower because that is going to help you de escalate. And I want you to even consider pairing your pause with maybe some movement. Maybe you need to get up out of the chair. Maybe you need to move into a different chair, put your feet up, maybe just shake your hands, shake your shoulders, do a body scan, and give yourself an opportunity to just really pause and then add some words that anchor you. Think about words that help you feel more calm, more settled. Um, Thinking about words like, I can release what I can't control. I don't have to let it just keep spinning around and around. I can release it. I choose to calm myself even when there's lots of chaos going on around me. I can choose to be calm, or calmer anyway. So now I would love for you to drop it in the comments, just one anchor moment that you're going to choose to utilize either this evening or tomorrow. Think about it and share it with us in the comments. And to support you beyond today, I have created a way for you to receive reminders and complimentary downloadable resources for each of these sessions, for these Mind Moment spotlight sessions. And today's resource is a handout on routines that steady without straining. And it's just a PDF that's going to guide you in how to navigate the in between times of life with permission to pause and listening to what's true, not listening to the same old stories or scripts that kind of keep you a little bit on edge. And you can sign up for these resources using the link down in the comments or in the show notes if you're watching us on YouTube. And you will get this handout for today and future reminders delivered directly to your inbox. And then I wanted to let you see how this kind of ties into self expansion. Self expansion coaching, self expansion concepts that we talk about in this Facebook community, Essentials for Peace and Balance. We are focusing on how to expand practices that really offer us a framework for everyday life, a full framework for clarity and renewal, things that you can fall back on consistently. And one of the examples that I utilize in my coaching program in module 1, we start with a self inventory. And it's just asking ourselves questions like, how would you describe yourself right now? And think about it. How would you describe yourself right now? You can type it in the comments if you want to. You can just jot it down or think about it right now in this moment. How would you describe yourself? And what are your current strengths and limitations? And that's just part of this self inventory where we combine self inquiry with sacred pauses, times to just recoup, to reevaluate. And so you don't just slow down in the moment. You start redefining your daily patterns toward peace and purpose consistently. So before we go, remember that this week's Threads of Change handout has prompts and some simple action steps in there to help you take today's session even deeper. So if you'd like me to send that straight to your inbox, just register for the reminders or message me directly, and I will get that right over to you. And remember, as we close, that peace and purpose grow from the steps that you choose.